Hello boys and girls and welcome back to the EU Challenger Scene Qualifiers. My name is Munchables and we're going to be jumping into the second game of the day. It's going to be Alien Tech up against Alternate Attacks, and once again joining me it's going to be Sona and Ex-Scoundrel, ready to get into the second game of the day and hopefully get the nationalities of the teams correct this time around. How are you guys feeling about this matchup?
I'm feeling incredibly excited. You know, Alien Tech yesterday fell prey to a slightly orientated competition just at beating them. It was a solo queue comp. We talked about it. Team Last and Reborn had that dive composition set in stone, and they played that to good effect. But I really think that Alien Tech have the opportunity this game to step up and show us perhaps a little bit more of the meta that they know, rather than perhaps Swain and Jace getting picked up.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, they obviously had some pocket picks in the bag, and, you know, obviously Fnatic banning Swain, it probably has some merit somewhere. You know, it seems to be a pick that could have been working well in scrims against tanks in the top lane. You know, I'd have to do some research into finding if that's the case or not, but, you know, if you were to wager a guess with it being banned and picked up, there is some merit for it somewhere. But maybe I would like to see what you said, kind of rotate back to what we know is good in this current meta, like a real conventional 624 patch. Then you have this mystery of Alternate Attacks that we haven't yet seen play. Now, if we are led to be believing right, we talked to Arfan, we talked to them about the team and the actual lineup they had. We said yesterday that 3 out of the 5 players had been in the ESL Meisterschaft final.
As Iguana Esports.
As Iguana Esports. But actually, we were corrected, and it's actually all 5 members. We're going to see the same roster that we saw in the ESL Meisterschaft. This is the team that beat Ironix 2-1, and then they beat their opponents, which has got the best team name in the world, by the way, Mysterious Monkeys, and they won the ESL Meisterschaft.
Certainly did, and we're going to be heading into picks and bans-ish. I believe the picks and bans is about to start. Anyway, as we just...
You get the impression from the overlay on the screen, don't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Soon.
Could be. I got told by production we are going to go to pick and bans in a second. But let's just kind of talk about Alternate Attacks for a second here, because we have yet to see them here on live. I mean, they didn't manage to compete in their game yesterday and actually went 0-1. They were the team that forfeited their game. I mean, do you think that that's a bad omen for them, or do we think that was just one foul up?
I don't really think it's a bad omen. They'll come back from it today. They'll want to prove themselves. I actually, sometimes a team needs a spur to actually play at their best performance. So we are into picks and bans, but I think that's what Alternate Attacks will have taken out of that. It will be their spur.
Absolutely. Well, take a look at this first pick. Malzahar locked in for Alien Tech as a first lock-in. What do you guys make of that?
That's really interesting. If you look at the bans that have come through, there probably are some picks that potentially are first pick worthy here.
Karma.
I mean, Karma could have been on the cards. Karma is on the cards here for Alternate Attacks, so you can see this seems to be a potential lock-in for them. But Malzahar coming through, that's a really interesting one for me, because I did some research. I was looking into what Malzahar, you know, how he's cropped up. A lot of people were talking about him having like a 66% win rate or so in the support position right now, in the sort of the higher elos. He has definitely got some merit. It just depends whether he's first pick worthy, whether he's going to be good into every single matchup. It's not something that I'm completely clued up on. So it's an interesting thing that they themselves have gone in and said, we think Malzahar is first pick worthy, and we're happy to take it straight off the table.
I think one of the key topics there as well is the confidence of going for that. I mean,
Sure.
We said yesterday maybe these pick and bans will become more and more uniform as we go on. Apparently not, though, because Swain is locked in again. This is what they did yesterday. Fearless picked up the Swain. Unfortunately, went 2-5 with it yesterday. So it was not successful at all for them, but obviously they're saying yesterday was just a bad game. Today we're coming in stronger, and we're going to prove that these picks work.
And Swain can work into top lane tanks. You know, you've got the Torment, it's point and click damage. You've got the ability to push the lane pretty well as well and never move. You know, it's a good stun. When you get into team fights, you just walk towards the backline with the Ravenous Flock and you can do a lot of work. But I think picking it up this early is perhaps showing your hand a little bit too much. Could be flexing into the mid lane, although I doubt it. I think he probably suits top lane a little bit better these days. I like what they've done with their bot lane. They've got really good push with the Malzahar and with the Varus, so they can always push up that lane. And Malzahar has great harassment potential as well.
You say they've got really good push. They have got insane push. The reason that Varus gets picked up a lot of times is that he's got such excellent early wave push with his piercing arrow. You know, you get through those caster minions very quickly. And now add the Malzahar Malefic Visions to the table. I mean, that is a wave that's getting pushed in a matter of seconds. And even with a Karma, there might not be many ways for Alternate Attacks to respond to how heavily this wave is going to be slamming into their turret. And remember, they are on red side, so Rek'Sai does have this ability to make some sneaky ganks potentially happen, but again, I mean, this is going to be very difficult for HeerQ and Arfan to deal with, given just how heavily this lane is going to push in their favour. But You see the Swain now. What do we think gets locked in at this point in time? Where are you going to go in the jungle? Rengar is gone. Lee Sin is gone. Rengar has been, Rek'Sai has been picked up. You know, are you going to default down to now something like Elise, Ivern potentially still available? I don't know how beneficial. Wow.
I was going to say this. I think a more aggressive jungler actually helps you out a lot more. The ability to dive onto that backline, which Malzahar has locked up with a flash Nethergrasp, really works out well for you.
It's actually
Malzahar
mid,
yeah. And then the Nami gives you that disengage potential if you need it as well.
So now we've got the final pick on ATN. We didn't talk about the last two, Kennen and Ezreal. So look at the team fight right now for ATN. Surely Orianna, do we think?
Orianna seems like a very solid mid lane pickup here, especially, you know, you want to save as safe as possible to Malzahar. You will get pushed early on, but Malzahar pushes most people in early on. I feel like, you know, Orianna is a very solid pick in this situation. You also have Kennen to deliver the ball where possible. You also had the Rek'Sai too. I would not be surprised to see that get locked in. You know, we talked about yesterday, and you know I said a pick that's potentially good against Swain in the top lane? Something like a Kennen. Looks like alternate attacks are on the same page.
Cassiopeia. I mean, Cassiopeia still works, right?
Yeah,
You
sure.
still can play very well in team fights, and also you've got that counter engage should your initial engagement not work. But I do like the idea that they're getting Kennen in right before the nerf, right? Getting it out of the way before patch 7.1.
Well, actually, the interesting thing about adding a Cassiopeia here is how she functions quite nicely with the Kennen. You know, Cassiopeia, you know, she will revel on people being stunned up in a large area. That's what Slicing Maelstrom obviously provides the team. She can sit there, land her poison, get multiple good Twin Fangs down onto key targets. You know, this is a kind of an area where Cassiopeia will thrive, and what Kennen actually provides is almost like having the Rylai's for her. You know, he basically slows down the targets that she wants to target down, and that teamfight control that Kennen brings, you know, it makes up for the lack of Rylai's in her build path now.
But Cassio also makes it really easy to play into the Malzahar mid lane with that passive. You know, you can proc it very easily with Noxious Blast or with the Twin Fangs if you want to use your Petrifying Gaze ultimate to stun someone up. I like the pick. I was also thinking maybe a LeBlanc just for a little bit more damage in the early mid game, but I agree this is a very late game orientated composition coming out from ATN, and then if you look at Alien Tech, they've got their own style and they're playing up to that, and I could see it working out.
Yeah, I do think one thing that does have to be mentioned though, when you mention Cassiopeia into Malzahar, that matchup in a vacuum post 6, there's very little Cassiopeia can do if Malzahar just flash ults.
Absolutely. She's not, obviously Cleanse doesn't work in that situation, so like you said, if she gets locked down, Kha'Zix comes into the fray, she's isolated, you know, she could be a real target in that mid lane. So apologies, alternate attacks we've got the wrong roster on page. It's because the roster that we were given has changed over the course of the last few days.
Also, Alien Tech are brought in a sub. Drifter 1v9 is actually Ria Tivo.
Yeah.
So he's subbing in for the jungle there. I think it's day one again, and Pulse have subbed out for Arfan and for Heq in that bot lane. So it is the full Iguana roster that we were talking about from the ESL Meister shaft.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we've talked about kind of roster swaps and things like that. Who are we looking at? Especially with alternate attacks who didn't actually get to play yesterday. For the viewers at home, who are the guys to look out for on that squad? I mean, you guys cast Iguana yourselves. Who were the real carries of that squad? Who were the ones that were bringing up the front guard?
I think they had in generally really good, solid, cohesive team play. You know, that bot lane, Arfan came in, he looked really strong in combination in the bot lane there with Heq. I think they've always been a solid part of Iguana. When I saw Iguana play, I thought their whole team in general looked so cohesive that they actually, you know, they executed game plans very well. It's what gave them that strategy to beat the likes of Euronics in the semi-finals. So I've been impressed with them overall, and really.
I think if you're going to focus on a specific area, I'd say it's their coaching and their analysis, actually. It's like their ability to strategically play the map. It's a little bit like what we saw from Fnatic Academy in that last game. Very good at playing the macro game, very good at understanding when they can be aggressive, when they need to be a little bit more defensive. And I think actually, if you look at their lineup here, it kind of shows just through the way they've drafted. Their lineup is very much, we're probably not going to win most of our lanes, but we need to understand when we can actually group together and make a team fight happen.
The one thing that I had been impressed with the roster is that ability to have, you know, really solid backing in terms of draft strategy and coaching. And you can see in this draft phase, they reacted to the Swain very well. They brought in a mid lane and a top lane that seems to synergize quite well in terms of team fights and scales up as the game progresses. So, you know, very impressed with the way they've managed to draft this one out. But again, you've got this sort of, it's almost a wild card draft again coming out of Alien Tech. I'm interested to see how it plays out.
I quite like it though, because it's kind of sticking to your roots, isn't it? You're saying, look, we might not be able to outdraft you guys, might not be able to play the same meta as you guys play as well as you can, but we can play what we play. And they're saying that's what we're going to do here. We're going to pick the Malzahar, we're going to pick the Swain, we're going to stick with our roots and see how it works for us.
And I think that's important as well with how badly their game went yesterday is sticking to their guns and not just allowing that to force them into a meta that they're not comfortable with. Now, it's that time again, gentlemen. Predictions. Xscoundrel, we'll start with you. Who's going to take this one?
I'm gonna go with Alternate. I think they seem to react to the draft phase very well. If they don't get snowballed in the early phases of the game, I genuinely think they've got a solid team fight going forward. So I'm gonna go put my bets on Alternate Attacks.
The thing is, right, because I know we're doing a scorecard, I kind of want to bet against Xscoundrel so that if he loses, I get points. Because otherwise, I'm still just behind him. But I can't look past Alternate Attacks here. I think they've got the better lineup there. If they play around their objective focus and play around that mid-game team fight, I don't see how Alien Tech are going to be able to play into it.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this one, boys. Alternate Attacks, I mean, I already know a couple of the players from this lineup, and I know how strong they are. And off of the performance from Alien Tech yesterday, they've not filled me with confidence in terms of the in terms of their performance in general. Hopefully, they'll prove me wrong in this game. I look forward to being proved wrong by them, but from what I've seen, it definitely looks to be going the way of ATF.
With the Alien Tech lineup, if they can get that ball rolling, if they can start to get Kha'Zix finding ganks, if, like you said, that mid lane combo happens when you get the Nether Grasp going onto the Cassiopeia, you get the isolation, execution potential of the Kha'Zix. If Swain can somehow find his way through the lane against a Kennen, it'll be a lot harder than going into a tank. You know, you've genuinely got a composition that can do a little bit like what we saw Team Larson Reborn do and just run away with the game. However, I would say that their engage potential isn't as solid. You know, you really need to get Malzahar up close and personal to get his ult working. So, you know, I can see how it works in the laning phase, but as we progress, you know, further on, are we going to see this transition into a 1-3-1 or a split push team composition? Because you take it into a full-on team fight, I just give Alternate Attacks that edge.
I totally agree. I think as well, early game jungle is going to be vital. Whether the Rek'Sai spotting out that Kha'Zix as they go through the jungle is important. If we do see Miativo being able to get a couple of early ganks off, start to get some of that isolation, especially in the laning phase, maybe, as you say, that snowball can get rolling. But it's a very difficult snowball to get down the hill because you are looking at flash engages from Malzahar. You're looking at flash never moves from Swain. It's very hard to do.
Gonna hand it over to you two boys. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Xscoundrel. It is going to be myself and Sona taking this one away. The very first game that we're going to see, Alternate Attacks. One of the first games kind of in the professional scene since LCS 2015 or something for Alternate Attacks. So they've had a fair bit of a break and an entire roster swap. I wouldn't even be surprised if the majority of people within the organization have changed by this point, but certainly still keeping the same name, keeping the same logo, and looking for those wins. And we'll see whether or not they can come back from their 0-1 deficit. But already, Alien Tech looking to be aggressive here.
Do a good job cleaning out the ward there. I mean, it's not vital. We see a lot of three-man squads, you know, going up to place that ward in the red buff pit. Doesn't really give you too much, but can give you a little bit of an idea of where the enemy jungler is starting. Looks like we have oh, we're back. We're back. Fine, excellent. Often taking a little bit of pressure there from Slayer. This is something I wanted to bring up. Alien Tech's bot lane yesterday actually did a relatively good job pre-6, sort of repeated Nocturne ganks. So I really want to focus on how Arfan and Hiku play into this aggressive bot lane with the push of the Nami Varus into an Ezreal Karma, which doesn't have the best counter push.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yesterday we actually saw Alternative X and Slayer. They were up against TLR, right? Which this game was... It was like TLR were obviously the one that qualified through the UK regional, and there was quite a bit of stuff that happened behind the scenes, and we weren't necessarily expecting the greatest of performances. They completely snowballed that game. This time, I think we're going to see a better view of what Alien Tech can actually do here, so long as they don't lose ridiculously in the early game like that. Because games like that, you don't ever quite get a full picture of how a team plays.
That's what I'm saying, though, because Alternative X and Slayer had a good early game in that lane. They were pushing in, they were getting some pressure down, they were able to force Haddo and Smiley XD on the back foot some of the time, but as soon as we saw the ganks coming in from Pridestalker on that Nocturne, it was just very difficult for them to actually do anything about it. The Malzahar, the Ashe, the Nocturne, just locking them up for a long period of time. They don't have to worry about that threat here. Hard CC on the side of Alternate Attacks is all in the top lane on the Kennen, all on that Rek'Sai with the knockup, and on the Cassio as well. I mean, Arfan can try and get that tether stun off, but that takes quite a long time to proc, and you'd expect the Nami to be able to bubble him up, or at least slow him, and let Alternative X escape.
Yeah, it's going to be the question, which of these supports can really have the biggest impact? And to be honest, In my opinion, one of the biggest factors in this game is just going to be how on earth this Malzahar mid works out. It's not a pick that we were expecting to come through. We thought if there is going to be Malzahar, which was believable, it was surely going to be support. Not in this case, but already the trade's going on in that mid lane. And, you know, the thing is, Malzahar, especially in lane, can do some fantastic things in terms of harassing, in terms of shoving people under tower, especially when you look at lanes like against LeBlanc. If you can push her under tower, Malzahar has a fantastic time in the lane.
Although LeBlanc now has quite a good amount of wave clear in that kit ever
true.
since she was changed, so it isn't quite as difficult. And we can actually see alternative attacks are reacting to that. They know that the Malzahar can push in with those Malefic Visions, and they say, okay, we'll give Jenax this blue buff. Rek'Sai doesn't need it anyway. It allows Jenax to get that mana regeneration, get those spells spammed out a little bit more, and stop the push from the Maus. I was going to talk about this. You say how strong Malzahar is at pushing up the lane. A lot of 624 meta is about controlling mid-river and being able to get areas of darkness for the enemy team there, because it allows your mid laner to group up with your jungler and then get ganks down towards the bottom lane mostly. We see Fnatic doing it in the last game, 4-man gank into taking the tower, and it just starts you rolling. Now Jenax has been caught out a little bit by Riativo here. Will be able to escape for the moment.
It costs him his ghost though, so important summoner spell is going to be on cooldown. You know, luckily for Jenax, that is the shorter cooldown of the two, so he's going to be pretty alright with burning that ghost so long as he survives. And more importantly as well, he did manage to get his ward down before escaping, so not all is lost.
One thing that alternate attacks have actually done really well in this early game is keeping track of Riativo. We saw they placed an aggressive ward at the red buff, which was Riativo's second buff, to spot him out as he went down towards the bottom lane. If you can keep tabs on a Kha'Zix early on, you can really stop most of his early aggression, and it allows Krennic on this Rek'Sai to get a couple of items under his belt, get that Tracker's Knife, and be able just to keep Riativo under wraps.
See whether they are going to be able to watch onto Riativo, especially as he starts to get to higher levels. Kha'Zix can be terrifying if you do lose track of him. But Krennic certainly in this early game should have an easy time getting ahead in terms of CS. Kha'Zix, not the greatest farmer in the world, whereas Rek'Sai, you know, well renowned for how quickly he can clear away that jungle.
Especially when she gets that Tiamat as well. Rek'Sai, a very strong jungle clearer. Some people don't say that you need that. It does help you clear the jungle a little bit, and I would expect Krennic to get it as his next item. But as you say, Riativo slightly slower, hasn't even completed that first jungle item, probably looking towards the Caulfield's Warhammer first for that damage spike, and then build up towards the Warrior Enchant. Both of these teams are doing a really good job of jungle tracking, which is quite vital in 624. There's a slight gold lead for alternative attacks, and I think actually Krennic was spotted there by the Scryer's Bloom, so Alien Tech should retreat, but Krennic's going to catch them out.
Yeah, spotted or not, he's still going to manage to get on top of Alternative X, who's solo and will go down for first blood. Krennic picks that one up on the Rek'Sai and gets his team in the lead.
And it's what we talked about in Pick and Ban, those alternative gank routes that you can get. Now Jenax caught out.
That's not a fight that you want to start, Jenax. He thought that there was only one player there. Little did he know, Asiado was waiting in the brush and forces things to happen. A little bit of an engage there from Kects as well, but can't quite get on to Fearless, who flushes away.
So the reason the reason that happened in the mid lane is that area of Fog of War we were talking about.
Yeah.
Controlling mid-river is vital, and we saw Jenax thought he could take the fight. Perhaps he thought Riativo would be going down towards the bottom side of the map to set something up. Instead, he gets caught out, he loses his life, has gone back to pick up the tier, but Malzahar can just push in that lane really quickly, probably going to deny a wave and a half of CS away from Jenax here, and that is the start of a snowball for that Malzahar in the mid lane.
You will be, but luckily, you know, we have traded 1-for-1 so far, so it's not going to be the end of the world. It's going to be down to Krennic, though, to make sure he's putting out this pressure towards this mid lane, to make sure that that's not a situation that can just be repeated. We mentioned it in Champion Select. In a vacuum, Cassiopeia will get just demolished by that Nether Grasp, but we'll see whether or not they're able to kind of deny that same situation in the future.
There is a worry for alternate attacks. Like, as we get later into the game, they don't really have a dedicated tank. Krennic's going to be the one building up towards that. Has gone for the Jerome's Fist there. Just to get that little bit of early extra aggression, but he will build tank after this. when you play into a Malzahar, when he puts that Nethergast down, he creates a zone underneath his opposition, and anyone standing in that zone is taking percentage max health damage, scaling up with his AP ratios as well. So if we do end up seeing alternate attacks getting these concentrated fights off, actually it could play into Alien Tech's favor. Slayer getting caught out here by Arfan.
Yeah, forced to flash in the end. Nice aggressive play from Arfan. Just not even really having to burn anything, just walks forward, makes sure to get that tether, gets a lot of damage down, then Hiku, all he has to do is arcane shift forward. So long as they're aware of where Frennick is, there is no danger. Oh, so long as they're aware of Reativo, then there is no danger in that scenario, and Frennick was keeping him busy over towards the river now. AT are going to be able to take control of this river area, so they could potentially look towards the first dragon, but it would be dangerous with no one else around. Frennick, though, in trouble. Look at the damage coming out from the bug. Reativo doing some serious work there.
Superb turnaround timing there. They're going to jump onto Arfan as well, though. Take him down. Alternative X gets the kill. Hiku, the next target. One auto. Malefic Visions as well takes him down. Now Frennick, as the auto jumps in, Call of the Void. Malefic Visions again. Double kill for the Malzahar in the mid lane, and they take away the blue. That's why you pick Malzahar.
And I spoke about the dragon a second ago. We are almost certainly going to see it again. And the Malefic Visions bouncing between the members of ATN. Fantastic fight there coming out from Alien Tech. We were questioning their draft phase. We were questioning the Malzahar mid. But Reativo jumps on into that backline, gets the isolation, does a significant amount of damage, and it means that once the fight continues further on, that Malefic Visions just ticks down and just... In case you guys don't know Malzahar, because it's not a champion you see that often, if it kills a unit at all, it will bounce to the nearest enemy unit, so it just goes all the way throughout the team.
Does include things like objectives as well. We've seen Batman steals with Malefic Visions before. I'm sure everyone can find the Reddit thread with that on. Can do a huge amount of work, but I want to draw attention to how Reativo played that fight. He went in by himself, drew Genex across, he dodged the petrifying gaze from Genex because he saw the miasma come out, immediately turned away, and then when the rest of his team arrived, they turned onto Arfan, who was trying to come up through river. Because they had control of the river, Alien Tech were able to win out the fight. They were able to get their members there quicker. They steal Blue away, which is huge, and they take the Ocean Drake, which is only going to bolster Swain and Malzahar and Varus in these fights.
Yeah. And another boon for Alien Tech right now is when you look at the top lane, Fearless getting towards his Rod of Ages. He's already got that Catalyst, and he's staying even in farm. We were saying during Champion Select, you know, Kennen does pretty alright in this lane, and you'd expect him to be able to put some pressure down, but Teleport going to be channeled here by Kex. He's looking for some action in this bottom lane. That is going to be the Slicing Maelstrom. Slayer will be going down shortly on this one. Kex tanking the tower for a little bit too long, though. Alternative X turns this one around, and now he's got the heal coming down as well. Arfan getting out of tower range. He doesn't have the damage to finish the AD carry. Reativo sweeps up the kill.
That's just over-aggression, really, from alternate attacks. Like, going for a fight that they didn't need to take. Kex trying to make the play underneath the turret. Because Slayer and Alternative X separated themselves so well, Kex couldn't decide who to go for. The wave wasn't pushed as well as it could have been by Hiku and Arfan as well, which means that Alien Tech were able to turn it around. Great play by Alternative X to get the autos down. Great play by Slayer to keep himself alive for so long, and they're going to get the first turret off it as well. This is huge for Alien Tech. Actually, they might get pushed back. They have got a wave coming in. I'd like to see, Reativo's going to stay around, make sure they secure that first turret. It will push them about 3,000 gold ahead, and they are 6-2 up as well.
Fantastic start to the game from Alien Tech. So far, they are looking to prove all of us wrong here with our predictions for ATN taking this one. You know,
I knew I should have disagreed with it, Scoundrel. I knew it.
We were coming in blind on this one. We hadn't seen what ATN had to bring to the table, and we'd heard whispers that this ATN lineup was going to be strong. Previously, Iguana Esports, these guys won the Meisterschaft in Germany. We were expecting great things, but so far, not really able to perform in this matchup. Not all is lost, though. It's a 2,000 gold lead right now for Alien Tech. They've got that first tower. They do have a first dragon. But again, it comes to that conversation of where do they go from here? How do they continue the snowball?
If you're Alien Tech, you just start to do what Fnatic Academy did last game, you know, put your top laner bot. Fearless is exactly there right now. He can quite easily 2v1 at the moment, assuming he's willing just to stand underneath the turret. Take Alternative X and Slayer up towards the top side. You're not playing into a tank. and that means it's a lot easier to play that 2v1 because Kennen, although he can farm from range, will struggle when you get him underneath turret and you're just pounding away at him with those Aqua Prisms and with those piercing arrows. So that's exactly what Alien Tech are doing. They actually send Reativo up towards the top side as well just to bolster that attack, and then they allow the rest of the lanes just to push into them and keep themselves safe. It actually looks like Alternate Attacks are trying to react to this, but they're way too late. Alternative X and Slayer will get this turret before anyone else is able to get there. Rennick trying to stop it for now, and is actually able to do it just by himself.
Yeah, but the piercing arrows will be bouncing on through. We saw some damage coming out from Kekt early on to Slayer and took basically 2/3 of his HP just in a Q auto attack W combo. So if we get a little bit later on, Genix though getting locked up here by the Nether Grasp. This is the situation though, if Kha'Zix isn't there, he doesn't have the damage. Genix gets the kill before going down. The 2v1 happens, but Genix gets the outplay.
So part of that is an outplay, and part of that is Asiato going ever so slightly too early. Wait another half a second so that Reativo's in range to jump in while the Nether Grasp is down. That's how you get the kill there. Also, Asiato, you know that you're going to be Petrifying Gaze back, so perhaps should try and turn around as soon as that Nether Grasp stops. But great play by Genix to get the Petrifying Gaze down to flash in as well for the kill. Does mean he doesn't have that flash next up though, so I would like to see Reativo trying to get back in towards that mid lane, get some more ganks off. He's gone for a very aggressive build path. He's got that Skirmisher's Saber with the Warrior Enchant, so he's really looking to get these skirmishes early on and then be able to snowball his team, because Kha'Zix late game does not give you that much in team fights.
This is going to be the second tower of the game now going down in favor of Alien Tech. They've locked up Frennick as well. Reativo, though, gets burst down. Both exhausts coming through, and they will save their respective team members. PQ had been taking a lot of damage from these piercing arrows, but nobody will go down in the end.
There's quite a good comparison, actually, to be made between this Alien Tech lineup and the TLR game we saw them play yesterday. The way that you play this lineup, and I'm going to call it a dive bomb composition, where you're trying to jump on one target and take them out. You have to get the person who jumps in out. So the way that Larssen did that yesterday was have the Shen just to ult onto the Nocturne going in, and then they get him out because he's got the Stand United shield. What Alien Tech are doing here is they're saying, okay, we've got a Nami who can bubble people up. She'll put that tidal wave down as well. And Reativo, in the time it takes for them to get the kill, will get that jump reset and then can jump out and will disengage with the Nami tidal wave. The risk is if Reativo's jumping in, not getting the kill, you then lose a lot of your ability to reset the team fight and to jump back in later on.
Yeah, and a huge portion of that burden is going to be on Arfan getting that exhaust down appropriately, Slayer. Caught out a little bit here. Arfan has been doing a phenomenal job of punishing Slayer for his basically trying to get vision. Whenever he goes around this dragon area or tries to get any kind of deep vision, Arfan is there and immediately tries to engage the fight and forces Slayer away from that situation.
Dragon is live now as well. It's an Infernal Drake, which is huge for both of these teams. Really, if you're alternate attacks, you want it because you're able to get that extra damage in the team fight, which is vital for you as a team. If you're Alien Tech, the ability to burst someone down with that extra AD and AP is important. We do just have a short pause here, guys. Sorry about this. We will be back into the action as soon as possible. So I think we're going to cut back to our beautiful faces. Now, Xscandral, you're here as well. You've been watching from the sidelines. How do you feel this game is going for both these teams?
I'm impressed with the way that Alien Tech are taking the initiative. This is kind of what we wanted them to do at the start of this game. They needed to be the ones in lane looking to punish as quickly as possible using that Kha'Zix in combination with the Malzahar. You saw it a couple of times in the mid lane. And what they are doing, and you can see it through the rotations on the map, is they are basically taking that front step forward, and it means that the reaction speeds from alternate attacks are just too slow. So what you see is they rotate up to top lane. By the time they've rotated up there, like you said, it was too late. Then they're now rotating back down to bot lane, and it means that there's no way that alternate attacks can actually push a lane because the pressure is already building up in another lane by the time they even get an opportunity to get anywhere near a tier 1 turret.
Too busy playing defensively to play aggressively. That's what they say. A strong offense is a strong defense. Here we go. Now, as you rightly said, Sona, Infernal Drake is on the cards. That is now on the map, and we'll see which team is going to be able to take control of this one. Alien Tech were the first ones to grab a Drake this game, and it was that Ocean Drake. We'll see whether Alien Tech, or sorry, alternate attacks are going to be able to contest for this second.
I felt very much like a sports broadcast there for a second. It's one of those like, oh, now to our reporter at the side of the stadium, let's have a quick recap of what's going on. And Scoundrel comes in with the analytical commentary. Now, Alien Tech looking for something in the bottom lane. Genix has ghosted away. Reativo trying to get up towards him, but Miasma stops him. And And that is a risk when you play this Kha'Zix. You're not going to be able to jump in when you're standing on Miasma.
Asiado also used his Ghost there as well, so not really anything lost or gained by either team in that scenario. But I'd say maybe, I guess it's probably equal value for the two mid laners. Neither of them have an escape, to be honest, so shouldn't really make too much of a difference with this upcoming Dragon fight. If we do see a fight for it, that is, it really depends on rotations, depends on positioning around the map.
There is a slight difference only because JerAx doesn't actually have his flash available at the moment. He is going to trade into Asiado here.
Yeah, and that's going to be a Nethergrass. We talked about this time and time again. JerAx, though, does manage to survive this one until Alternative X gets the snipe down. The EU sniper is on the scene. Arfan flashes away. But look at the damage coming out from Keats. That is just disastrous for AT, but it's a double kill either way in the end. 2 for 2, and Fearless living up to his name as he flashes forward into 3 members. Keats should be able to escape from this one in the end, though.
Great teleporting by Kex, was kind of lost in the blur of the team fight, was able to get that slicing Maelstrom down. Of course, they had already lost JerAx. Arfan fell pretty quickly as well, so Alien Tech will take that fight. Asiado had to burn flash to try and get away. You feel that Fearless was there perhaps ever so slightly too late, but still able to turn that fight around, and now they're going to turn their eyes towards the Infernal Drake as well. If Alien Tech take this, it's the beginning of the end for Alternative Attacks, but Kex is coming in to try and stop this happening. There's a smite on Riativo, no smite on Kex, of course. Riativo secures it. Infernal Drake is big there for Alien Tech.
We have it. So that is going to be a second Dragon going the way of Alien Tech. That is the Infernal Drake as well. So 6% AD and AP. That is a huge boon to have on your side, especially when you're running with things like a Varus. Having 6% extra damage every single piercing arrow is going to be huge for their output when it comes to these siege scenarios. If we do end up in sieges, to be honest, with the two team compositions, I wouldn't be surprised to just see all-out 5v5s every time.
I think a lot of the time you're going to see Kex in a different lane until the fight starts, and then he'll be coming in with that teleport trying to get the slicing Maelstrom down. He is the big Fed carry on the team at the moment because he picked up that double kill in the last fight. 3-1 now with the Proto Belt, but Alien Tech is doing exactly what they need to do. It's paint by numbers for them, or destroy by numbers as well, as they go bot lane, top lane, mid, and take down the first tier of turrets.
Yeah, and that is 3-0 on towers as well. That is a huge lead to be bragging about, as well as those 2 dragons on top of it, as well as a lead in kills. They're almost 4,000 gold above their opponents, and now Baron going to be coming onto the cards in just over 40 seconds. That is going to be a huge objective for these two teams, and I'm curious to see how soon we see AT setting up for that. Whether that's something that they'll really be going for, or whether that's something to look at later on into the game.
So you can do it quite quickly with a Varus and a Malzahar. You've got Blighted Quiver Stacks, of course, that can burn through it, and then Malzahar gets a couple of Voidlings down, and they just keep multiplying forever, and then manage to take down the Baron quite quickly. And my worry, of course, would be you've got a Cassio who's great in AoE fights. You're into a Kennen as well, who's a little bit fed now. Fennec can spot you over the wall, even if they haven't got wards there with that Void Sense. And then, of course, Ezreal and Karma able to get into the fight as well. So Alien Tech really need to be able to control vision around it before they look over towards the Baron.
Now, one player we haven't really been harping on about too much so far this game is Alternative X. Now, while we haven't really, given him a full paragraph just yet, he has been sweeping up in these fights. He's been doing a lot of damage from a distance, and he's actually racked himself up a nice little score. We saw the gold differences just a second ago, and he's 2,000 gold ahead of Hiku just alone in that bottom lane. So he's actually starting to get to a position where he's already finished 2 items as well as his boots. You've got a similar situation, but both items for Hiku are much more effective in the late game, and he still hasn't finished his boots. So as we get into these next fights, that is going to be a huge difference in damage output. Slayer caught out though here.
We've seen this a couple of times. It is caught out. The True Shot Rush comes out. Counter-engage with the Nami wave. Frennick caught down with the Nether Grasp. Alternative X goes unstoppable and takes him out. That is always the problem when you try and engage onto a Nami. 1 Aqua Prism is all it takes into the Nether Grasp. The lockup from Alien Tech is incredibly strong. And as you said, Alternative X there once again to clean it up.
Yeah, and that is just another bit of gold in his pocket. And you saw the difference to Varus since I think last time we saw him competitively. Although, actually, Slicing Maelstrom coming on through Riativo is trying to get on top of things. Will be able to in the end, if I can say his name. That is going to be just another kill for the Kha'Zix. 3-0-3. Kex caught out. Frennick was caught out. And well, this is just a matter of positioning at this point. Oh, disaster. The Petrifying Gaze soaked up by the Spell Shield.
That's the problem. That is the problem when you play into a Malzahar as a Cassio. Genax, we talked about it in Pick and Ban. You can proc it, you know, from long range. Miasma and Noxious Blast and Twin Fangs can all do it, but you have to wait for it to be procced, because otherwise you still have that area where you've got the Banshee's Veil, when you've got that Spell Shield that will stop any push. And now, because Alien Tech are so far ahead, because Fearless is exactly that, he and Reativo can go bot lane. You can put a couple of members up top, Alternative X and Asiato up there a second ago, and you start to set up this split push pressure that really at the moment Alternate Attacks can't deal with. Kennen is probably in an okay position to deal with the Swain, but as soon as Reativo joins him, or as soon as any other member of Alien Tech joins him, Kex cannot face up to so much pressure.
One thing I do want to point out in this game, though, oh, well, Kex has been caught out, and look at the chain CC. You've got Malefic Grasp, Nethergrass, sorry, followed by the chains coming out from Alternative X. You're stuck down for so long, and then there's Slayer there with all of the CC that Anami provides on top of everything else. There's very little chance to get out of that unless you flash the very first thing that comes your way.
So this game has kind of been a story of Alternate Attacks not having the vision control they'd like. All the reason that happened was top side of mid lane, the River had no ward control for Alternate Attacks, and it allowed them to set this up, flash in with the Nethergrasp, get the kill, easy as you like. And I'm now starting to be more worried for Alternate Attacks and their team fight composition, because Alien Tech is so far ahead. Asiato will not mind just nether grasping a single target, standing still in the midst of the enemy team, and then allowing his Varus and allowing his Swain just to clean up the rest of the members as that nether grasp locks one person down.
When we look towards the jungle, we've got Reativo, who is absolutely leading when it comes to kills. You've got 3, 0, and 3 on that Kha'Zix. He is miles ahead when it comes to how proactive he's been in terms of the fights. But when you look at the other side of things, Frennick in the meantime has been farming up a Storm 50 CS ahead of the Kha'Zix, but no time for that now, as Arfan takes a huge chunk of damage but will be saved by HeQ.
So I just want to have a look at this Malzahar build, because a couple of people might be slightly confused by it. He's gone Rylai's second, and some people will say, you know, Rylai's was nerfed in 623. Why are you still going for this Rylai? So the reason it works here is, firstly, you've got your Voidlings, so they can do a slow when you don't actually have to be attacking the target directly yourself. Alongside that, you've got the Swain. We're actually going to see an engage in the top lane with a Chain of Corruption. It looks like it was a little bit too far of a stretch for Alien Tech to get in.
I gotta say, while they couldn't really follow up on the huge engage, fair play by Slayer. He got 3 knockups with the wave, followed by 2 knockups with the Aqua Prism. Some serious accuracy coming out from that support.
So just bringing it back to that Rylai's point. So you get an AoE slow, basically, as your Voidlings do a lot of work. And then, because Fearless is building Zhonya's Rod of Ages, he's got a lot of damage as well. Allowing that Swain to get into the backline, because you're slowing them with the Rylai's, just extrapolates so much more damage out of your composition. Usually we wouldn't see a Malzahar go for that Rylai so early, but because he's got that Swain who wants to get towards the backline, it helps them out a huge amount.
So across the board now, it's fair to say that Alien Tech are starting to run away with this game. They've got a 6,000, almost 7,000 gold lead for themselves. They've got 4 towers to 0, 2 dragons to 0. And when you look across the board at CS, they're doing pretty decently, at least even just about when you compare bottom lane and jungle to kind of tie things up a little bit. But when it comes to kills, they are head and shoulders above their opponents. As you mentioned earlier, Kex is kind of the silver lining right now for ATN, and he's going to be the one that has to be huge in these team fights until you get to the later game. But then when we talk about the later game, Cassiopeia and Ezreal, both of these can be huge carries so long as you can get to that 5-6 item mark.
It's what we talked about in Pick and Ban as well. You know, we were saying that their Alternate Attacks team fight composition, their ability to work together late game is incredibly powerful, but if they keep getting caught out like they are because Alien Tech are forcing this kind of split push with the Swain in the bottom lane and the rest of them rotating between mid and top, if we don't see a team fight from Alternate Attacks, they can never really enact what their composition does. And you can see Alien Tech realize that and are trying to force these skirmishes rather than go for a full 5v5.
I've got to say, one thing I'm quite impressed with so far this game is Slayer's aggressive movements when it comes to the jungle. I was praising Arfan on punishing Slayer. every time. But so far, he's only died twice. And every single time he goes for this aggressive warding, usually there's a team member there. The one time he didn't have a team member, he was punished very heavily for that and died immediately. But every time since then, he's always had a team member. And we even saw that situation where he managed to bait Frennick into dying himself. So multiple times we're seeing that now, and I think ATN is starting to get wise to that. Here we go, though. Nether Grasp.
Onto Frennick, the Chain of Corruption comes in as well, and Riativo's on a rampage. Kha'Zix takes him out. It's just too darn easy to make these picks when you deny vision in the enemy jungle, when you set up around that red. We saw them doing it for such a long time, and now they're going to go towards this Baron. There are still 4 members of Alternate Attacks up, and the teleports start.
Yeah, both teleports immediately going to be channeled. Frennick will have his farm alarm available in 20 seconds when he respawns. AT have to be careful on this one, not to commit too hard. Look at this, Kex going in, flashes forward. AoE stuns everywhere. Hiku gets the true shot barrage of his career right there. Alternative X in a 1 versus 1, AD versus AD, but the exhaust comes out in the end from Arfan. Hiku waiting for his jump to be available. Can he finish off the AD carry? Yes, he can. It's Arfan that gets kill credit, and it's a 5-0, 4 versus 5 in favor of Alternate Attacks.
And once again, it's the Kennen that makes the play, jumps in, catches out Aziado, catches out Riativo, and gets a quick double for his team with the True Shot Barrage coming in as well. That's exactly what Alternate Attacks need to do. You have to play around the fact the enemy doesn't have their Chain of Corruption, the enemy doesn't have their Nether Grasp, doesn't have the ability to stop you engaging, and now they'll take the Baron off this as well. It's a huge swing for Alternate Attacks as they equalize the goal score to within 2,000.
I cannot stress enough how huge that engage from Kex was in that game. We mentioned how he was the one with the lead. He was the one that had to bring his team back from the brink, and he absolutely did that. Stuns across the board. Hiku then uses that True Shot Barrage and snipes out 2 immediately. From that point, it's no longer a 4 versus 5. At that point, they then have the man advantage, 4 versus 3, and they just have to clean house and then take that neutral objective as their reward.
Riativo looking for something once again. If they can get Kex, Kex is their target. If they cannot take out that Kennen before a fight starts, they really need to think about changing their strategy, because at the moment, Fennec has now got a dead man's plate. He's building pretty tanky. You've got Cassio, who's got the Quicksilver Sash. You've got Ezreal, who is very, very slippery as well. It's going to be incredibly hard for them to lock people down. They do take another Drake. I think, was that another Ocean?
Yeah. That was a Cloud Drake, I believe.
Cloud Drake, sorry. Yeah. So
but there was also a Chain of Corruption that just missed its mark. So Alternative X missing that one out could spell disaster as the flash knockup comes onto Fearless. Double redemption comes down, but they're both too late to save their targets. Frennick going to be able to walk away with his life. On top of things, an easy pickup for ATN. They punish the dragon, and now they look towards the mid lane.
And he's building up towards that Spirit Visage as Fearless, but just hasn't quite completed it yet. Didn't have Zhonya's up either to keep himself safe. They felt like perhaps there was a bit of miscommunication amongst Alien Tech as well, because you saw them half going in, then Nether Grasping, then everyone else retreating. Really couldn't hold up Fennec, and now we're going to start to see Alternate Attacks take some of the standing gold on the map, take some of those turrets. Riativo's looking for an engage.
Yeah, Genax is in trouble here. Riativo has a lot of damage on this Kha'Zix, and you saw it right there. Nice simple pickup for them. Overextending for that mid lane tower, but in the meantime, they're more than happy to punish elsewhere on the map. Kex is getting a top lane tower. Hiku, he's already just taken that first tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. Now he's looking for a second one. Will have to recall. He knows that people are heading towards this bottom lane. Aziado is more than capable of melting down his health bar.
That he is. Kex is starting to get to the position where Riativo might struggle, though. Has got the Slicing Maelstrom. Riativo's going for the fight. Slicing Maelstrom out. Fearless there as well. Kex jumps in. Can't quite get onto Riativo. It gets taken down. Alien Tech able to win out the trade. It was a 2v1, but they did it in the end. Obviously with Slayer coming in right at that last moment as well.
I've got to say that was a little bit over-aggressive there from Kex. Yeah. He didn't have any vision of that side of the jungle, so didn't know how many opponents he was up against. And you saw at the end there, after he'd used his Proto Belt, he was like, okay, oops, now what? I'm out of cooldowns, I'm out of escapes, my ultimate's been used. How do I finish off this 400, 300 HP that's remaining on Riativo? Does go down in the end. So 4-4-4, the scoreline for Kex, and when you consider that this is the guy that basically has to carry the team at this stage until Hiku comes online later on, that's not the most convincing scoreline you've ever seen. This Baron buff will run out, and at that point, what is it that ATN have to do to kind of keep this game under control.
In all honesty, I think we're getting to the point where the KDA doesn't really matter that much for ATN. Now that they've got a couple of turrets underneath their belt, you've got 267 CS on there. Ezreal, who's got Blade, who's got Iceborne Gauntlet, who's got a completed Muramana as well. Cassio's completed the Seraph's Abyssal and Morellonomicon. They're in a strong enough position that it doesn't really matter what their KDA is. All of these players have come online. The Cassio is in late game, the Ezreal's in late game, and the Kennen is just there to facilitate that team composition. He doesn't have to single-man carry anymore. I like his new itemization choice. He's building up towards a Zhonya's Hourglass next. He really needs that. The armor against the Kha'Zix and Novaris is strong. Alongside that, the ability to survive in a team fight is incredibly impactful when you get that Zhonya. So now we start to see Alien Tech thinking about how they're going to make this next move. It looks like they might be going for a split once again. My worry is the way they're grouped, the alternate attacks could get a good flank off.
I've got to say, when you mentioned the Zhonya's Hourglass for Keks, it almost feels greedy that he hadn't gone for that just yet. Keks actually might be punished for his lack of Hourglass here. Does have to use his Slicing Maelstrom. Both targets survive though. Krennic now on this front line. There's no CC left to finish him off. EQ actually doing a lot of damage. Doesn't quite finish off that kill. The heals come through in the last second. Fearless locks up 2 and never move, but cannot finish off the target. So a lot of cooldowns burn both sides, but no one finishes off a kill.
Nethergrasp is still up, which is a huge cooldown, alongside that Petrifying Gaze as well. So both the mid laners held onto those ultimates and can use them at a moment's notice. Aziado has flash if he wants to jump in. I just want to bring back to that Zhonya's point, a big thing that we saw there. Alternate attacks, especially Arfan, is looking to protect that Kennen when he jumps in, so he'll Mantra inspire the team, and Kennen then will be able to run out after using the Slicing Maelstrom. So that's probably why we haven't quite seen the Zhonyas yet. Alongside that, to carry the team, he needed a little bit of magic resist in case he got ultimated with the Nethergrasp, and he needed the magic penetration as well from the Void Staff. So it is a little bit of a late Zhonya's, but it's worked out well with the way the team has been playing.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, I didn't get to quite finish my point on that one, so I wasn't trying to just flame his build path necessarily, but yeah, I think so long as he can get it soon, so long as he has it for like the next major team fight, which is going to be Baron in 1:20, you would assume, or perhaps the Dragon over at the other side of the map, that is going to be when it's absolutely crucial. And when you see Reativo catching people out in the jungles, that is where these build paths are going to come into play. And a lot of the vision control is going to be brought into question, to be honest, for ATN, because Reativo, to be honest, has had a whale of a time this game. He's really not struggled at all when it comes to going through the opponent's jungle. 6-1-3 on that Kha'Zix.
I just want to bring the comparison as well up between Reativo's Kha'Zix and the Kha'Zix we saw out of Memento from Nerve yesterday. Memento ended the game at about 2-3-3. He didn't really have any impact in the early game. What Reativo was able to do here was he farmed up well, and then he got the snowball rolling. That's something that is vital on Kha'Zix. If you don't get a couple of early-ish kills, you really can't continue to jump in and out like Reativo's been doing. The risk always is now for him, if he jumps in, he doesn't have a way of getting out of the Petrifying Gaze. It's all going to be about how well he dodges around the team fight, and if he jumps in, Keks has the opportunity just to Slicing Maelstrom straight away. Now, these guys have gained vision around red buff once again. It's what we saw Alien Tech do before when they got the Baron, or when they went for the Baron the first time, which was a little bit of a throw, but there's good control a little bit further into the jungle from alternate attacks, which means that Alien Tech aren't able to get the engage they'd like.
Absolutely. So far in this game, we've seen Alien Tech. They really start to run away with things. Another Chain of Corruption fails to hit its target there from Alternative X, not managing to start these engages. Bit of poke going back and forth, but no major engage. And to be honest, when it comes to a poke battle, you've got to give it the way of AT, purely because Alternative X will be able to throw out those piercing arrows non-stop.
Also, sustain comes out from AT slightly better as well with the Nami there, with the Swain. They can all sustain up pretty easily. So you have to think that Alien Tech will win out a poke battle if it comes down to that. Even with EQ getting up to these, you know, larger item spikes, looks like he's building up towards a Mortal Reminder next as well, with that Executioner's Calling in his inventory. So even when he gets towards these larger item spikes, we are going to see more poke coming out from the Varus, more poke coming out from the Malefic Visions, and even the Kha'Zix at the moment with those Vorpal spikes can do quite a lot of work.
Now we're in a situation in this game where Alien Tech had a fantastic start to the game. They had a fantastic mid-game. They were really starting to build up a lead for themselves. You can see that in the Dragons. You can see that in the tower advantage that they've got. You can see that in the kill advantage that they've got. But when it comes to the gold, the gap has been closed. ATN had a fantastic fight earlier, and here we go. A reenactment of that fight. There goes the True Shot Barrage, but Keats cannot last long enough. His Zhonya's wasn't even used in the fight, and now Fearless is on the front line. He's tanking the damage from Hiku. Hiku does a lot, but he's not doing enough when he gets locked up by the Never Move. Arfan now has to flash away. In the meantime, GenX trying to get a kill onto Slayer, and he will do so, managing to trade it 2 for 1. Not a good fight for ATN, but it could have been a lot worse.
Oh.
I say that, it is a lot worse. GenX goes down.
Huge thing about that fight is the shielding from Slayer. You know, we saw them jump onto Alternative X. The Locket of the Iron Solaris shield came out straight away. That gets buffed by having Redemption as well, alongside Windspeaker's Blessing. Then we saw the Redemption come down. Alternative X has more, so he got a shield from that as Kex jumped in, and the rest of Alternative attacks just weren't there in time. Fenix looking for the steal here. This would be huge if he can get it. It's down to 1,000 HP. Fenix still there. Alternative X takes him down, and they take the Baron as well. Alien Tech securing the Baron, securing the win in the team fight as well. And perhaps this is the beginning of the end for Alternate Attacks.
The scary thing there was Reativo didn't have Smite. Fantastic communication though from Alien Tech. The second you see Frennick jump into that Baron pit, DPS stops completely onto the Baron. They immediately focus down Rek'Sai, make sure he's gone before it gets into Smite range, before he can steal away that objective. They did not want a reenactment of what happened yesterday around the Baron. And now, a 4th Drake looking to be going the way of Alien Tech. Nobody near to contest this one. This will be a 2nd Cloud Drake, a 4th Drake in the bank. Alien Tech are looking strong, as well as with that Baron.
Yeah, and Alien Tech really showing up this game as well. It feels like Alternate Attacks have just been ever so slightly too slow at moments. Kex went in, the rest of his team was about 500 units too far away. You know, they were just standing at the beginning of their jungle rather than being near those entryways towards the Baron pit. If GenX had been there for a massive Petrifying Gaze, if Fennick had been there for the knock-up, if Arfan had been there to try and get the Mantra Inspire down, perhaps they could have done more in that last fight. But Alien Tech taking the fight straight away, understanding what they needed to do, and were able to take down Kex incredibly quickly. Kex as well, not quite getting the Zhonya's down in time, is another perhaps slight misplay just from Alternate Attacks. And you wonder as well, they didn't get to play yesterday, of course. Is this a little bit of nerves? Is this a little bit of rust just being swept off them in this game? And maybe over the next few games we'll start to see them step up a little bit more. They haven't lost out yet, but it's looking like Alien Tech will probably be able to close this one out.
I think the big... Oh, here we go. Ardo, where did he go? Kex just deletes him. There's another kill as GenX finds a 1v1. What just happened, Alien Tech? It was all looking so good. Sona was just saying how it was all looking fantastic. And then 2 of you get caught out in 1v1s that you just cannot win. Asiardo, as such an important part of this team composition, cannot afford 1v1s like that.
Not at all, and it gives up mid-tower as well, which is gold that Alternate Attacks will be very happy to put in their back pocket. It's something that actually Alien Tech have been really good at that cost them their vision control has been strong throughout this entire game, but they hadn't advanced their vision line, and now Reativo caught out as well. Will be able to jump away, but they hadn't advanced that vision line over the entries of that red side jungle. It meant that Kex could set himself up in a surprise bush, and off that, Alternate Attacks are able to take off 2 turrets and are looking for a 3rd.
Might just be able to get onto inhibitors here. The Baron minions will be a bit of a pain for them to deal with, though. That is certainly going to slow things down, but they're looking for a death brush. They're not looking to actually back away. Will anyone fall for the trick? I wouldn't be surprised to see Slayer going in there. We've seen him. He's very happy to go aggressively for that vision.
Kex might just look for the flank here. He's got his Lightning Rush and Slicing Maelstrom up, so he could have just tried to go straight in. Reactivo's going to jump forward once again. Hiku turns it around, and we see what late game Ezreal can do. Has that Mortal Reminder, has a huge amount of damage in his back pocket, and is just melting through Reativo.
We said earlier, we've got to wait for Hiku to come online. He absolutely has. We're 40 minutes into the game. This is one of the longest games we've seen in the qualifier so far, and Hiku now is at that late game Ezreal stage. He's gone for that blue build where you dish out quite a lot of percentage damage, but you're also very tanky. You're also able to kite people as long as can be, basically, and now they're going to be able to clear away this wave. The tower is in trouble, though, and will be finished off. AT still taking control of these objectives.
Alien Tech are trying to learn from the mistakes they made a couple of minutes ago. Instead of having that split push idea, they're going all together and trying to spot out alternate attacks through their own jungle as well. They're trying to garner vision here, but the risk for Alien Tech is that the Kha'Zix doesn't always do a huge amount when you're in these grouped up team fights. He's more about trying to catch people out. Maybe if he can wait in the wings for a moment before he jumps in, Alien Tech do still stand a chance, but you have to think as this game progresses and gets longer and longer, alternate attacks are getting to the point where the gold difference doesn't matter, the turret difference doesn't matter. Everyone's almost at 6 items, and alternate attacks just seem to have a slightly stronger composition.
Now, the most important thing that we have to bring into question is these neutral objectives now. You've mentioned how alternate attacks, yes, their composition will start to fall off. Yes, it looks like ATN, from what we've seen so far this game, are the better team fighting team. However, we have also seen that Alien Tech have had phenomenal control of, obviously, the Dragon, as they are 4-0. They've got a Baron for themselves. Had a Baron go either way at this stage, but there's going to be an Elder Drake spawning in 1 minute and 40 seconds. A Baron spawning in 2. These two objectives are going to be the crux that this game hinges on.
EQ is able to jump away from there. I totally agree with you. It looks like Fennec might engage with the Mantra Inspire. It's caught up in the Nether move.
Will be able to pull himself away from this one. Look at the teams jumping back and forth. Neither team wants to be too aggressive. Neither wants to really commit to the engage and get punished for it. Both teams actually very good on the re-engage, it has to be said. So both of them basically looking for their opponent to over-engage, but it is still Alien Tech that are beginning this siege. They managed to get a quarter of that tower's HP down there in very little time. So 4 more minion waves, theoretically, and that inhibitor tower will be down, but there's going to be pressure elsewhere as Kex is looking to push this out in the mid lane. Does have his teleport available.
If he can put a bit of pressure in the mid lane, it can work out. The problem's always going to be if Alien Tech just pulled the trigger right now, flash into the Nether Grasp, and Asiado just tries to pick off a target. Fennec isn't who you want, and there are 2 Quicksilver Sashes as well, one on Genax and one on Hiku. Kex is going to teleport behind them here, looking for the flank.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty huge fight. If Kex can do the damage he needs to, there is Asiado getting locked up. There isn't any follow-up though. Kex, he used his Zhonya's, but it didn't keep him alive long enough. Fennec on the front line will drop as well. Fearless, that's how you use the Zhonya's. He stays up. The Aqua Prism doesn't quite land, but that is going to be 2 kills going the way of Alien Tech. Traded back though. Look at this cleanup. Arfan on the front line trying to lock up Reativo. He will be able to jump himself away, but it's 3 versus 3 at this stage. We're going on to Twisted Tree Line. Hiku trying to jump on forwards, but there's a minion wave in the way. He's trying to clean up these kills. Reativo jumping away as well. Asiado still has a lot of damage. They have to be careful how much they commit. This might be the end of the fight.
It looks like it. There were 2 main stages to that fight as well. You know, we saw Kex coming in for the flank. Didn't quite manage to take down Asiado because of the shielding coming out from that Nami from Slayer. He got taken down even with his Zhonya's being used, and all the time that Alien Tech were focusing on Kex, Fearless stood as a brick wall between the rest of the alternate attacks team and Kex, and it allowed them to get that first kill. However, slight overextension by them into Genax, who gets the Petrifying Gaze down, and immediately they lose 2 are on the back foot. If we get to that chase point, if we get to the point where it's 3v3 and they're both just running around each other, I can think of no greater champions to have than a Cassio and an Ezreal to try and get that chase off. Cassio, of course, so strong in those sorts of fights, and Ezreal incredibly powerful with the Iceborne Gauntlet. So Alien Tech did the right thing of backing off. They only had Reativo, they only had Asiado, they didn't really have any ultimates available as well. It was a smart move, and alternate attacks are now looking for this Baron.
Yeah, interesting scenario here. Reativo smited the Scuttle Crab there, but he's going to get locked up there. We'll be able to survive with this one. That was his slicing Maelstrom. Reativo on the front line. That is going to be a mid laner going down, though, in the end. Fearless now pushing forward, as well as Alternate X. Gets the double kill for himself. Fennec is trying to escape. He queues in a fight that he just cannot win. Triple kill comes through for Alternative X. AT proved that they can win team fights, and now they are looking towards the base of Alternates.
Might just look for the win here. Great play by Riatiro off towards the side. He caught out Genix, who'd gone aggressive to try and get Asiado. They did get the kill onto Asiado, but he'd locked up Kex for long enough with that slicing Maelstrom to stop him being able to impact the team fight. Alternative X flashes forward. He knows the limits of this Varus, and Fennec just can't do anything to distract them. He's going to try and hold a minion line or something just to stop them getting to the Nexus turrets. It's smart play by him, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold off Fearless for too long.
I've got to be honest, I think we're at a point in the game where they're happy to just tank up these towers if they need to. Alternative X, you know, this is a 6-item AD carry. He's not even got boots anymore. He swapped those out for a Phantom Dancer, so he can just layer that damage through. It paid off in that last fight, and it means the Alien Tech are going to take their first win here in the Challenger Series qualifier, and it's going to be alternate attacks, that managed to go 0-2 now.
Great play. Yeah, I'm happy to be proven wrong with my predictions there. Alien Tech played the composition exactly how they had to. It was a composition that, in essence, we saw them lose to yesterday, and they picked these slightly unconventional picks in the Malzahar in the mid lane and the Swain in the top lane, and they worked it incredibly well to form a very synergistic team composition.
Absolutely. I mean, I was obviously looking at that from the outside here, and they seemed to have run out of steam at some point.
Yeah.
At one point in the game, I genuinely thought that alternate attacks were going to come back with this late game Ezreal. You know, when he gets past 3 items, he becomes a bit of a monster. You're going to get this Cassiopeia, who becomes a teamfight control god, and you combine that with the Kennen. I was really thinking that actually alternate attacks looked like they found their way forward, but a couple of sloppy teamfights. I mean, right there at that Baron Pit fight, you know, you try to flash or even just jump in on top of a Malzahar with a Kennen, the Nethergrasp is going to probably come out at some point. You know, it locks him straight in his track in the middle of the ultimate. It was a perfect answer right there. And actually the way that Alien Tech were playing these team fights just really, you know, they won it through pure mechanical skill and better teamfight decision making. You know, if you put this on a level playing field, I probably would have given it to alternate attacks. But Alien Tech somehow come out with a win based off this huge momentum that they had gained from the early laning phase.
I think part of it is prioritization of champions right at the end as well. Like, if you go instead for the Nami there and get rid of the Redemption and get rid of the Locket and get rid of the Ebb and Flow heal, that's what's keeping the rest of the team alive. That's what's keeping Asiado alive when you jump on him. That's what's keeping Alternative X alive when you jump on him as well. So Slayer to me is my man of the match, or my player to watch in that game. Just did a superb job of being able to keep anyone alive when Kex tried to jump on them.
Absolutely. Well, I do just have to quickly remind you guys as well to thank our sponsors for this event, AOC and Alienware. We're able to make this broadcast happen for you guys, so we're able to watch the EUCS here, the qualifiers. Make sure to head over to esl.pm/Alienware to grab yourself a new PC, and head over to AOC's website as well if you want to grab some monitors. We're going to go for a few minutes, but don't go anywhere. Azus ROG is going to be going up against Nerve in just a few minutes' time.